The last shift. My name's Sarah. I worked the graveyard shift at Miller's Diner, the kind of place where the neon sign buzzes louder than the customers. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Most nights, it was just me, the hum of the coffee machine, and the occasional trucker passing through. I liked the quiet. Or maybe I just got used to it. That night started like any other. The rain was coming down in sheets, blurring the world outside. I was wiping down the counter when the door jingled, and in he walked. A man soaked to the bone, shoulders hunched like he was carrying more than just water. "Coffee," he muttered, not looking up. His voice was hoarse, tired. "Sure thing," I said, pouring a cup. He wrapped his hands around it like he needed the warmth more than the caffeine. His hands were shaking. I noticed that right away. "Rough night?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He let out a bitter laugh. "You could say that." I didn't push. People came here to be invisible. I understood that. But something about him put me on edge. He kept glancing at the clock, tapping his fingers on the counter like he was counting down to something. A few minutes later, another guy walked in. Business suit, expensive briefcase, the kind of man who looked like he belonged in a boardroom, not a roadside diner at midnight. He sat at the far end of the counter, ordered a sandwich, and started scrolling through his phone. The first guy didn't even look at him, not at first. I was halfway through making the sandwich when I heard the crash. The coffee mug was in pieces on the floor, and the man, the first one, was standing breathing hard. His eyes, I'll never forget his eyes. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice shaking. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat. Time slowed. I thought about running, screaming, anything, but I couldn't move, and then I saw it. A gun. "Don't move," he said, his voice tight like he was barely holding himself together. He pointed the gun at the man with the briefcase. Everything inside me froze. "Please," I whispered. "You don't have to do this." The man's jaw clenched. "He took everything from me," he said, his voice cracking. "My family, my job. He ruined my life." The guy in the suit blinked, confused and terrified. I don't know you?" he stammered. The gunman's face twisted into something between rage and despair. "You know exactly who I am. You just don't care." And that's when I realized this wasn't about money or some random act of violence. This was personal. I took a step forward, my hands raised. "Hey," I said softly. "Whatever he did, this isn't the way. Please, just talk to me." His eyes flicked to mine, and for a moment I saw the weight he was carrying. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who'd lost too much. "They never listen," he whispered. "People like him, they never listen." "But I'm listening," I said. "Right now. You've got my full attention." His hands started to shake harder. The gun wavered. For a second it felt like we were all holding our breath, and then he lowered the gun, his shoulders collapsing like all the fight had drained out of him. That's when the door flew open, and the cops came in, guns drawn. Someone must have called them. He didn't resist, just dropped to his knees and let them take him. As they let him out, he looked back at me, eyes hollow but grateful. "Thanks for trying," he said. The man with the briefcase left without a word. I stayed behind, cleaning up the broken mug, my hands still shaking. That was my last shift. I never went back, but sometimes, late at night, I think about him, about how much pain a person can carry before it breaks them. And I wonder if anyone ever really listened.
That's it for today, guys. You can submit your horror experiences and stories through the comment section. Please like this video, and also make sure to subscribe the channel. It'll motivate me. See you guys in another one. Peace out.